In our next example, what we're going to do is something a bit different. We're going to demonstrate how to create a new node type when a module is installed. So go ahead and jump to your module directory, and in the steps folder, go ahead and open up the 10th step, which is for the new stuff.install file, and it's called installing a new node type module. You'll also want to open the new stuff.install file, which can be found in the stuff directory, in the modules directory, in the new stuff folder, and go ahead and open up the .install file. Copy the entire code from the step over to the .install file and save it. Okay. In the new stuff module, what we're going to do is create a new node type, and we're going to add a couple of fields to it. And then in a further step, we're going to show how to uninstall that new node type and then add an additional formatter for a field. Creating a new node type with fields is basically a 3-step process. In the first step, we're establishing our content type and setting settings for it, and then creating it. And then in our next step, we're creating additional fields. Just by creating the fields doesn't necessarily attach them to the node, so we need to create instances of those fields that are then attached to the node. So that's the 3 steps right there. We're going to perform all of this in our hook install function. If we had already established a module and we needed to do this outside of our install function in an update function, we could do that too. But we're working on the premise that we're going to just install this file and have our new node type. We're going to have a number of strings that should be translatable, but at this point during the processing in Drupal, the T function might not be available. So we need to get a function that will perform the same duties as T, but may not be T exactly. So we're going to call the getT function, which will allow us to grab the function name that we can use as a replacement for the T function. Our next step is to define our new node type, and we do this by constructing an array and then passing that array to the function nodeTypeSave. So we're setting a number of parameters here for our node type. The type is going to be called new stuff, and we're going to give it a translatable name of new stuff. The base is, this is a basic node content type, so we're going to give it a base of node content, a description, and then a label for the body for the node. Here we're calling node type set defaults on the new stuff array, which will add some additional settings to it, so we don't have to do that manually. Next, we want to add a body field, and we can do that by simply calling node add body field on the content type. And then we're going to save the content type by calling nodeTypeSave. Our next step is to create a set of fields for our node type, and we're adding 2 fields, one just a text field and one an image field. And we're doing that down here. We're calling a function called newStuffInstalledFields because we want to contain all of our field information in a separate function that we can then reuse in our uninstall process. So let's go ahead and jump to that function here. newStuffInstalledFields here. So we're just returning an array, and this array contains field names as well as data about those fields. Our first one is called newStuffExampleField, and the field name is going to have the same name as the field. The type is going to be text, and the cardinality is 1. Cardinality is the number of items inside of this field. So if we wanted a 3-part text field that actually has 3 text fields in it, we could give it a cardinality of 3. Our next step is to add an image field. We're giving it a field name of newStuffImage, a type of image, and a cardinality of 1. Okay. So now we've grabbed all of this array, and then we're running through it, and then we're performing a function called fieldCreateField on each item in that array. And this process will generate our fields for us. The next step, once we've created the fields, is to attach them to the node by creating instances of them. So once we've created a field, administrators can use that field on other nodes as well if they'd like, and create instances of them for those nodes. So we want to automate this process for our custom node type and create instances during the install process. So that's what we're doing here. And again, we're pulling out the definitions of these instances into a separate function that we can use in the uninstall process as well. So let's go ahead and jump to this function, new stuff, installed instances. Okay, because we're going to use the t function, we want to grab a t function that's already been defined by using the getT function, and then we're returning an array. Our first one is an instance of the field newStuffExample field, so we're setting that as the field name. We're giving it a label of example text field, a type of text, and we're setting a widget type of text field. For text fields, there are a number of widgets that are available, and if you're curious what widgets are available for any type of field, you can do a search across all of the files in your Drupal site for hook field widget info. Every time the hook is implemented, there will be a mention of it in the comments. So I'm going to demonstrate that real quick. I'm going to right-click on my project. This is Komodo IDE, and it allows you to search project folders, but you could also use a command utility called grep, which we talked about in the development tips and tricks video. And I'm going to select Find and select Hook Field Widget Info. And then just in case there's another hook that begins this way, I'm adding a parenthesis here, and I'm going to click Find All. And if I'm curious about the text options, I can look for the text.module file here, and I'm going to open that up. And you see here is a list of the widgets that have been defined for text fields, including text fields, text area, and text area with summary. So we're just using this first one here. Okay. I'm going to go back to the install file. And then we're adding one more field instance of a field type newStuffImage. We're giving it a label of upload an image, because this is what will display to the left of the field. We're not setting it to be required, and we're giving it a widget type of image. Okay, let's jump back up to our install function. So we're taking that array of instances and looping through, and we're adding an entity type to this instance. In this case, we need to be explicit that this is for a node, because we could also be adding instances to users, for example. We're adding it to a bundle of newStuff type, and this is the type that we set up here as our node type. So a bundle is, in the case of nodes, is the type of node. And then we're going to create the field instance from that array item that we pulled in. And that's all we need to install a new content type when our module is installed. In the next step, we'll take a look at how to uninstall it. Let's go ahead and install our module and see our new content type in action. I'm going to jump back to the browser, and on the modules page, go ahead and scroll down to the Build a Module section here, and select the New Stuff module, and then click Save Configuration. Once this is done loading, we can go to the Content and click Add Content, and we'll see that we can create a new content type called New Stuff. And we have a title here, a body, and as we scroll down, we'll see our example text field and our image field here.